Have you ever stopped to question why extraordinary phenomena seem to have ceased? Why those inexplicable healings, those profound life transformations, those interventions that seem to come from a higher dimension and used to flow naturally through the hands of those who had true faith, simply disappeared from our contemporary reality? And what if I revealed something that will completely change your perspective? Before manifesting absolutely all miraculous events, before bringing people back from death, restoring sight to those who couldn't see, calming violent storms at sea, Jesus pronounced a specific sequence of words, a sacred formula so incredibly potent that it ended up being deliberately hidden from you. Throughout the centuries, this practice was meticulously erased from official teachings, buried under layers and layers of institutional doctrine that was built by those who controlled the masses. If right now you're feeling that deep movement within your soul, that inner whisper telling you that you didn't arrive at this video by accident, that there's a greater purpose in you watching these words at this precise moment in your journey, hit that like button right now. Because the knowledge that's about to be revealed will shatter absolutely everything you've always believed about the power of prayer, about manifestation, and especially about the divine potential that exists dormant within you, waiting to be awakened. The suppression of this teaching was not a historical accident. It wasn't a natural forgetting by time. It was a strategic and deliberate decision because this practice truly works. It transfers power from the hands of religious institutions to the hands of the common individual. It exposes a revolutionary and dangerous truth for control systems. You were never separated from the divine creative source. You are not just a passive receiver waiting for blessings to fall from heaven. You are an active channel, a potent conductor through which miracles can flow as naturally as you breathe, as long as you understand the secret, as long as you activate the correct code. In the next few moments, you're going to discover the exact words that Jesus pronounced before transforming common water into wine at the wedding feast, before multiplying a few loaves and fish to feed thousands of hungry people, before ordering Lazarus to walk out of that tomb after days of being dead. But what's even more important than the words themselves, you're going to deeply understand why these specific words carry the vibrational frequency of creation itself. You'll understand why they unlock and activate this same miraculous power that exists latent within you at this moment. And most importantly, you'll discover the reasons why this knowledge was intentionally kept away from common people for more than 2,000 years, hidden, censored, and distorted. What you're about to learn is not just an ancient history lesson. It's not just academic theological theory. This is the forbidden key to the spiritual kingdom that has always been hidden in plain sight, patiently waiting for those who have eyes truly prepared to see and ears genuinely open to hear these truths. The only question that remains is, are you genuinely ready to remember what your soul has always known, but was erased from your consciousness? To understand what was deliberately taken from us, we need to travel back in time to an era before the great religious councils, before the famous Council of Nicaea that happened in the year 325 AD, before Emperor Constantine strategically merged the Church with the Roman Empire, before the gatekeepers of knowledge decided which teachings would be officially preserved for future generations and which texts would be purposefully buried in the sands of time, condemned to oblivion. The first authentic followers of Jesus, those men and women who physically walked beside him, who witnessed miraculous phenomena happening before their very eyes, practiced a modality of prayer that was radically, fundamentally different from what most religious people do today. In the ancient Aramaic language that Jesus spoke fluently, a fascinating language where each individual word carries a specific vibrational frequency, where the pronounced sound and profound meaning are absolutely inseparable and intertwined, prayer was not an act of desperate pleading. It was not the act of begging an external deity for favors, like a desperate servant bowing before a distant and inaccessible king. It was something infinitely more powerful, something much more dangerous for those who would later seek to control the masses through rigid religious hierarchies. It was a bold declaration of complete unity with the divine creative source. It was the conscious recognition of a power that was already present, already flowing through the person who prayed, not something distant that needed to be conquered or deserved. The ancient Gnostic texts that were miraculously discovered in Nag Hammadi in 1945 and were kept in absolute secrecy for decades before being disclosed to the public, reveal that Jesus taught his closest disciples a profound mystery. He said, "The kingdom of God is not in a distant place in heaven or in a far-off future. The kingdom is within you. It's not going to be there someday. Not maybe it will be if you're good enough. It's present tense. It's already here, already activated within you at this moment, just waiting for you to awaken to this reality." The Gospel of Thomas, which was purposefully excluded from the official canonical Bible during the councils, records Jesus saying something even more revolutionary. "If you manifest what exists within you, what you possess will save you. But if you do not bring forth what exists within you, what you do not manifest will destroy you." These weren't just beautiful poetic words. It was precise technical instruction. It was the operating manual for working with miracles that the institutional church considered too dangerous to preserve and teach to the masses. Why? Because this teaching meant that each human being, regardless of their social position, education level, or how much money they offered to the church, carried exactly the same divine creative spark, the same unlimited creative power that Jesus had demonstrated through his acts. It meant that no human mediator was necessary between you and God. No priest needed to intercede on your behalf. No tithe payment was mandatory. No religious hierarchy needed to be maintained to control your access to the divine. In the Hebrew mystical tradition known as Kabbalah, a system that Jesus, as an instructed and scholarly rabbi, would have known deeply, there exists the fascinating concept of kavana, the conscious intention and state of consciousness behind prayer that transforms mere pronounced words into literal acts of creation. The ancient Kabbalists understood something profound. The divine name itself, the tetragrammaton YHWH that appears thousands of times in Scripture, represents the eternal present tense. It's not "I was," referring to the past. It's not "I will be," pointing to the future. It's "I am," the eternal and infinite now where all power resides, where all creation continuously springs forth. Before manifesting each miracle, Jesus consciously entered this state of "I am" consciousness. He didn't ask God to heal someone, as if God were a separate entity up there, as if the power was somewhere distant outside of him. He offered thanksgiving, as if the miracle had already occurred completely. Why this approach? Because in the realm of "I am," in the quantum field of infinite possibility that modern physics is beginning to understand, the miracle had already happened. He spoke from the end, from the place of complete conclusion, collapsing the quantum potential wave into the particle of physical manifestation through the vibrational frequency of absolute gratitude and certain knowledge. The Essenes, that mystical Jewish sect that many serious scholars believe Jesus was intimately connected with, practiced a special form of prayer they called feeling prayer. Ancient Essene texts describe this practice as invoking the feeling of the desire already fulfilled, completely surrounding yourself with the emotion of having already received what you desire. They understood something that quantum physics would only scientifically confirm 2,000 years later. The observer directly affects what is observed. Consciousness shapes and creates reality. Feeling is the language that communicates directly with the field of all possibilities. But when the powerful Roman Empire adopted Christianity as its official state religion, something fundamental changed in the structure of the teachings. Spiritual practices needed to be standardized, rigidly controlled, molded in a way to support the existing power hierarchy. Prayers became humble petitions. Human beings were redefined as miserable sinners, fundamentally separated from God, absolutely requiring religious intermediaries for any contact with the divine. The direct connection, the "I am" power that Jesus had demonstrated so clearly and taught his disciples, was reclassified as dangerous heresy. Mystics scattered throughout the centuries who rediscovered these truths on their own. Figures like Meister Eckhart, Hildegard von Bingen, Giordano Bruno, and so many others were silenced, exiled from their communities, or literally burned alive at the stake for sharing this knowledge. The prayer that Jesus used before each miracle was not written in the canonical Gospels as a magic formula to be mechanically repeated. because it was never about the isolated words. It was about the consciousness, about the vibrational frequency, about the complete state of being from which those words emerged. It was about remembering who you really are in your deepest essence. You are not a desperate beggar before a distant and inaccessible throne. You are a divine being temporarily wearing human skin, equipped with the same creative power that spoke the entire universe into existence. So what exactly was this prayer? What were the precise words that Jesus pronounced before ordering the violent storm to calm down, before telling the paralyzed man to get up and walk, before calling Lazarus forth from death itself? To understand this deeply, we need to look far beyond modern English translations, beyond even the ancient Greek manuscripts, penetrating into the Aramaic heart of what was truly said. And most importantly, we need to enter into the consciousness from which these words emerged. In the Gospel of John, chapter 11, before Jesus resurrects Lazarus from among the dead, we find the only recorded instance where the veil is pulled back, and we're allowed to hear what Jesus truly prayed before performing a miracle. He stands before the tomb and pronounces these revealing words, "Father, I thank you because you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this out loud for the benefit of the people standing here, so they may believe that you sent me." Read those words again slowly, allowing them to penetrate deeply. I thank you because you have heard me. Perfect past tense. Before he pronounced the command, before Lazarus emerged from the tomb, before the miracle manifested in the visible physical realm, Jesus was already offering thanksgiving for the complete conclusion of the event. He wasn't asking with hope. He wasn't pleading with uncertainty. He wasn't begging, "God, please, if it's your will, maybe consider helping in this situation." He was consciously acknowledging what already existed in the realm of divine potential, in the field of infinite possibility that permeates all reality. This is the secret they stopped teaching in churches. This is the forbidden key that was locked away. Prayer is not humble petition. It's powerful declaration. It's not about asking for something you don't have. It's about thanking for what already exists in the invisible realm, thus calling it forth to visible manifestation through the magnetic power of gratitude. But there's something even deeper hidden here, encoded in the Aramaic language itself. When Jesus said Father, he used the word Abun, a term that absolutely does not mean a patriarchal figure sitting on a distant throne judging humanity. In Aramaic, Abun refers to the birther, the primordial source, the cosmic womb of creation, the field of infinite potential from which all things continuously emerge. It's the unified field that quantum physicists now tell us underlies all reality. The zero-point field where matter and energy dance in eternal possibility. When Jesus said, "I thank you because you have heard me," he was speaking from a state of absolute unity with this source. The Aramaic grammatical structure reveals something that the English translation completely conceals. He wasn't conversing with God as someone separated on the other side of an abyss. He was speaking from the divine consciousness within himself. The subject and object collapsed into one. The prayer and the one praying became a single act of creation, happening simultaneously. Think of it this way to understand better. Imagine you're standing before a vast and infinite ocean. Most people pray as if they were on the shore of the beach, shouting across the water to someone on the distant other side, hoping their voice is carried far enough to be heard by God. But Jesus understood a completely different truth. He wasn't standing at the edge of the ocean trying to reach something distant. He was the ocean temporarily experiencing itself as an individual wave. When the wave recognizes its true nature as ocean, it doesn't need to ask the ocean for permission to rise or fall. It simply moves with the natural power that it is in its essence. That's why Jesus consistently said things that confused and even infuriated the religious authorities of his time. I and the Father are one. Before Abraham existed, I am. The works that I do, you will also do, and even greater works than these you will do. He wasn't claiming to be the only exclusive Son of God. He was declaring that everyone is a son and daughter of the divine source, that everyone carries the same unlimited creative power, the same ability to speak reality into existence from the consciousness of unity. The prayer before each miracle had three essential components, three frequencies that needed to be present simultaneously for the miracle to manifest. First, there was unity consciousness, the absolute and experiential knowledge that there is no separation between the one who prays and the source of all creation. Not hopeful belief, not faith in something outside you, but direct experiential knowledge of your true nature as an individualized expression of the infinite. Second, there was gratitude in present tense, thanksgiving for the miracle as already accomplished, already realized, already manifested in the invisible realm. This is the vibrational frequency that quantum physicists now understand as the observer effect, where the act of observing, of placing your consciousness in the reality of the fulfilled desire, collapses the wave function of potential into the particle of physical manifestation. Third, there was complete bodily feeling, the whole body experience of having already received, of the miracle already being done. Not the mental acknowledgement of words, but the actual physiological state, the electromagnetic signature that your heart sends out when you are living in the reality of completion. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field 5,000 times more powerful than your brain, and this field communicates directly with what the ancients called the field of all possibilities and what scientists now call the quantum field. Jesus understood something that modern mystics and quantum physicists are only now rediscovering. The universe doesn't respond to your words or even to your conscious thoughts. It responds to the frequency you're continuously broadcasting, to the signal that your entire being is sending to the field. When you pray from lack, from need, from the consciousness of not having, you're sending the signal of scarcity. And the universe, being a perfect mirror, reflects that scarcity back to you in the form of experiences. But when Jesus prayed, he did something that defied the logical mind, something that seemed impossible for those trapped in linear cause and effect thinking. He prayed from the already happened end. He placed his consciousness not in the present moment of the problem, not in the current reality of sickness or death or lack, but in the future moment of the solution already completely realized. And then he brought that future feeling into the present moment through the alchemy of profound gratitude. This is where most people stumble and fail. They say, "How can I thank for something I don't have yet? Isn't that lying? Isn't that self-deception?" But they're asking the wrong question because they're still operating from the paradigm of Newtonian physics, where reality is fixed, solid, already determined, and unchangeable. Jesus operated from what we now understand as quantum reality, where the future is not fixed but fluid, where multiple potential timelines exist simultaneously, and where your consciousness, specifically the electromagnetic frequency of your heart and mind in coherent alignment, selects which timeline collapses into your experienced reality. In the ancient mystical text called the Prayer of Joseph, which was referenced by early church fathers, but later excluded from the official canon, there exists a passage that reveals this truth explicitly. "I descended to dwell among the sons of men, and spoke with them in their language. But I come from above the heavens. I am a ruling spirit who has been given dominion over those born before me." This wasn't Jesus speaking. This was the teaching that each human soul descends from the realm of pure potential, from the field of infinite possibility, and assumes temporary form in the material world while retaining the ability to access that higher realm through elevated consciousness. The Hermetic principle, as above, so below, as within, so without, encoded this same profound truth. The realm above, the invisible field of quantum potential, is the template for the realm below, physical manifestation. What exists within in your consciousness, in your feeling state, in the reality you hold as true in your heart, manifests without as your experienced physical reality. Jesus didn't violate this universal law. He mastered it completely. He operated it with such millimeter precision that what appeared to be supernatural miracles were simply the natural result of perfect alignment between internal consciousness and external manifestation. Consider the miracle of the loaves and fish. 5,000 hungry people with only 5 loaves and 2 fish available. The disciples saw lack. They saw impossible mathematics. They saw a problem with absolutely no solution. But Jesus, what did he do? He took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, and before distributing them, before the multiplication occurred in the visible realm, he looked up to heaven and offered thanksgiving. again past tense gratitude before manifestation. Thanksgiving for the miracle already accomplished in the invisible realm. What happened in that specific moment? He shifted his consciousness from the frequency of "it's not enough" to the frequency of "more than enough." He moved from the vibration of scarcity to the vibration of abundance. And here's the crucial understanding that changes everything. Abundance and scarcity are not quantities. They're frequencies. They're states of consciousness. You can have millions in your bank account and still vibrate at the frequency of scarcity, always afraid it's not enough, always desperately grasping for more. Or you can have very little and vibrate at the frequency of abundance, always grateful, always recognizing the infinite supply available in the invisible realm. The ancient Kabbalists taught that there exist two fundamental worlds: the world of Asaya, solid physical manifestation, and the world of Atziluth, pure divine emanation. Between these two worlds exist intermediate realms, Yetzirah, formation, and Briah, creation. The prayer that Jesus used didn't operate in Asaya, not in the physical world where the problem existed. It operated in Briah, in the realm of pure creation, where thought becomes thing, where consciousness molds energy into form. When you pray in Asaya, you're praying from the problem. God, I'm sick. Please cure me. The very structure of that prayer reinforces and broadcasts the frequency of sickness. You're observing the sickness, focusing on it, feeling it, and therefore, according to the observer effect in quantum mechanics, you're collapsing the wave function into more sickness. But when you pray from Briah, from the realm of creation, you're praying from the solution. Thank you because I am whole, because I am healed, because vitality flows through every cell of my body. You're not denying the current physical reality. You're simply refusing to give it your power of observation and feeling. You're withdrawing your consciousness from the problem and investing it completely in the solution, thereby starving the problem of the very energy it needs to persist, and feeding the solution with the creative power of your focused attention and gratitude. That's why Jesus could say to the paralyzed man, "Your sins are forgiven. Get up and walk." The religious leaders were scandalized. What did forgiveness of sins have to do with physical healing? Everything. Because in Aramaic mysticism, sin doesn't mean moral failure. It means missing the mark, being out of alignment with your true nature as a divine being. The paralysis wasn't just physical. It was spiritual, emotional, mental. It was the manifestation in Asaya of a consciousness that had forgotten its true nature, that had identified with limitation, with separation, with powerlessness. When Jesus said, "Your sins are forgiven," he was doing something far more radical than granting moral pardon. He was declaring the man's restoration to his true nature, his realignment with the divine source. He was calling forth the remembrance of who the man really was beneath the layers of trauma, limitation, and false identity. And from that restored consciousness, from that remembrance of divine nature, physical healing was not a supernatural intervention. It was the inevitable natural result. The Gospel of Philip, another Gnostic text excluded from the canon, states, "Light and darkness, life and death, right and left, are brothers of one another. They are inseparable. Because of this, neither are the good good, nor the evil evil, nor is life life, nor is death death. For this reason, each one will dissolve into its original nature, but those who are exalted above the world are indissoluble, eternal." This passage reveals the profound secret. Miracles don't happen by overcoming physical laws. They happen by transcending the level of consciousness where those limitations exist. Jesus operated from the consciousness exalted above the world, the realm where opposites dissolve, where sickness and health are both recognized as temporary states within an eternal and unchanging divine nature. From that elevated consciousness, he simply called forth the preferred state through the vibrational frequency of gratitude and absolute knowing. Now we arrive at the moment where ancient wisdom meets your current everyday life, where the forbidden teaching becomes a living practice, where you take the same power Jesus demonstrated and activate it within your own experience. This is no longer abstract theory. This is no longer distant history. This is the technical manual for working miracles that has been waiting for you to be ready to receive it. The fundamental first step is to shift from petition to declaration, from asking to thanking. Starting today, every time you pray, whether for healing, financial abundance, guidance, restored relationships, or any other desire of the heart, you need to completely restructure the consciousness from which you pray. Never again approach prayer as a beggar approaching a king. Approach it as Jesus did, as a divine being temporarily wearing human form, speaking from the source, not to the source. Here's the practical formula you can apply immediately. Identify what you desire: healing, financial breakthrough, restored relationship, creative inspiration, whatever it is. Now close your eyes and move your awareness out of the present circumstance where the problem exists. Don't deny it's there, but simply withdraw your power of observation from it. Breathe deeply several times, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth, each exhale releasing accumulated tension. Each inhale pulling you deeper into the present moment, into the field of infinite possibility that exists right here, right now, beneath the surface noise of the material world. Now pronounce these words or similar words in your own authentic voice. Ab-Wun, divine source, infinite field of all possibility. I thank you because my healing is already accomplished. I thank you because in the invisible realm, in the quantum field where all potential exists, this miracle is already done. I offer gratitude not for what will be, but for what already is. Feel the words deeply. This is crucial for success. Don't just say them mentally in your head. Feel them in your chest, in your heart, in your belly. Generate the actual physiological sensation of gratitude, the warmth that spreads, the expansion in the chest, the sense of relief and joy that comes when something wonderful has happened. Your body doesn't know the difference between something that happened in physical reality and something you're experiencing in imagination with complete sensory detail. To your nervous system, to your electromagnetic field, to the quantum field reading your signal, it's all equally real. Stay in this feeling for at least 3 to 5 complete minutes. This is not wasted time. This is the most powerful action you can take. In these minutes of felt prayer, you're broadcasting a completely different frequency than the one you've been sending out. You're collapsing the wave function of potential into a new timeline, pulling that future reality into the present moment through the magnetic power of coherent heart-brain alignment. Do this practice twice daily without fail. Once in the morning before the day's chaos pulls you into reactive consciousness, and once at night before sleep, when your brain naturally enters the theta state where the subconscious mind is most receptive to deep reprogramming. Consistency matters far more than intensity. 5 minutes of genuine felt prayer twice a day for 30 days will reprogram your entire electromagnetic signature more powerfully than 5 hours of desperate pleading once a month. But here's where most people encounter the biggest obstacle, the place where the practice completely falls apart. The gap between the prayer and physical manifestation. You do the felt prayer. You generate the gratitude. You align with the miracle already accomplished. And then you open your eyes and the physical circumstances are still the same. The bank account still shows lack. The body still shows symptoms. The relationship still shows distance. And doubt creeps in like a thief stealing the seed you just planted before it has time to germinate. This is the true test. This is where faith, not blind belief, but the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, becomes your anchor. Jesus spoke about this explicitly when he said, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have already received it, and it will be yours." Present perfect tense. Already received, already done. The believing is not hoping it will happen. It's knowing it has already happened in the realm of causation, and you're simply waiting for it to precipitate into the realm of effect. During this crucial gap, you must practice what the mystics call living from the end. This means you continue to move through your day not as someone waiting for a miracle, but as someone for whom the miracle has already occurred. How would you feel if the healing were already complete? Feel that now. How would you walk, talk, make decisions if the abundance had already arrived? Walk, talk, and decide from that place of fullness. This is not empty pretending. This is prophetic living, embodying the future reality in the present moment, thereby magnetizing it into manifestation. When doubt arises, and it will arise, don't fight against it. Fighting doubt gives energy to it. Instead, simply return to the practice. Return to the deep breath. Return to the feeling of gratitude for the miracle already accomplished. Each time doubt appears and you choose to return to faith, you're strengthening the neural pathways of trust, weakening the neural pathways of fear and separation. Here's an advanced technique that Jesus used that you can apply immediately. Speak directly to the circumstance as he spoke to the fig tree, to the storm, to the demons. Look at the lack in your bank account and say, "I see you, but you are not the truth of who I am. The truth is divine abundance flowing through me now. Thank you, Source, for the wealth already mine." Look at the diagnosis, the symptom, the pain, and say, "I acknowledge you, but you don't have authority over my divine nature. Perfect health is already my reality. Thank you for the healing already accomplished." This is not denial. This is spiritual dominion. This is exercising the authority that Jesus said you have. "I have given you authority to trample on serpents and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy." The enemy is not some external demon. It's the consciousness of separation, of limitation, of powerlessness. And you overcome it not by fighting against it, but by placing your consciousness in a higher octave where it simply cannot exist. Finally, watch for the signs. The universe will begin sending evidence that your prayer has been heard, that the timeline is shifting. These signs may be subtle at first, an unexpected check in the mail, a casual conversation, a sudden insight, a feeling of peace where there was anxiety. Don't dismiss these things as meaningless coincidence. Recognize them as the leading edge of your manifestation, as proof that the invisible miracle is beginning to become visible. Gratitude for these small signs accelerates the arrival of the larger manifestation. You now hold in your consciousness what was deliberately hidden, what was systematically removed from official teachings, what the institutional gatekeepers decided was too dangerous for the masses to know. The prayer Jesus used before every miracle was not a secret because it was complex. It was a secret because it was too simple, too powerful, too democratizing. It revealed that you don't need a human intermediary. You don't need institutional permission. You don't need to earn your way into divine favor through payments or behavior. You already are the divine expressed in human form. And the creative power of the universe already flows through you, waiting only for you to remember, to align, to speak from the consciousness of I am. This is not blasphemy against God. This is your spiritual birthright. This is what Jesus meant when he asked, "Is it not written in your law, I said, you are gods?" He was quoting Psalm 82, reminding those who had forgotten their true nature that they were never meant to crawl as beggars before a distant deity. They were meant to stand as conscious co-creators, as children who inherited the complete creative capacity of their divine parent. Every time you pray from this day forward, you make a crucial choice. Will you pray as you were taught by systems that benefit from your sense of powerlessness? Or will you pray as Jesus truly prayed, from unity, with gratitude, in the feeling of the desire already fulfilled? One path keeps you dependent, waiting, hopeful, that someday, if you're good enough, if you plead convincingly enough, you might receive what you need. The other path activates the kingdom of heaven that's already within you now, calls forth the miracles that already exist in the field of infinite potential, and demonstrates that you were never separated from the source. You were always the vessel through which it flows. The storms in your life, the financial chaos, the health crisis, the broken relationship, the existential despair, are all waiting for you to stand up in the boat and speak with divine authority. Be still. Be peace. Not as a weak hope, not as a humble request, but as a declaration from one who knows deeply that the power to calm the storm doesn't reside in some distant heaven, but in the divine consciousness awakening within you exactly now, in this precise moment. So I leave you with this. Go to your secret place, close the door as Jesus instructed, and pray to the Father who is in secret, to the divine source that exists in the invisible realm of pure potential. Offer thanksgiving for what already is. Feel it with every fiber of your being. And then watch as the physical world rearranges itself, to match the frequency you're broadcasting. The miracle is not coming to you from some distant place. It's coming through you, because you are the miracle waiting to remember itself. If this teaching has awakened something ancient in your soul, if you feel the truth of it resonating in places deeper than logic can reach, leave your comment below, sharing how this touched you. Let that response be your first act of conscious co-creation. And share this video with someone who's ready to remember their divine nature, someone who has been praying for permission when they already possess complete dominion. The prayer Jesus used before every miracle is now yours. The only question that remains is, what will you create with this sacred knowledge?